There is nothing new about the stuff that MrBeast makes. It has been around forever. Because his content, when you look past all the larger-than-life exploits and explosions, it really is just kind of boilerplate reality TV. I know. I worked in reality TV for years, unlike this Dog Pack 404, who is hand-wringing at some pretty normal stuff. And maybe that's why I'm doing this video. Typically, I don't think I could really care less about petty YouTube drama. But in this case, I think I may be able to shed a unique perspective. I've worked on nearly 30 reality shows, from MasterChef to Below Deck to even Naked and Afraid. I worked as a transcriptionist, taking raw, unedited footage, typing out everything so editors could later sift through hours and hours of B-roll, and then use searching key phrases in order to find certain footage that they were looking for. And I know what you're thinking. Raw, uncensored footage of Naked and Afraid. Yes, I have seen things that cannot be unseen. My point is this. I've seen behind the scenes, unedited and real. I can say that MrBeast, he's playing an old game. I'm going to mostly dial into the first half of the expose and the claims of MrBeast videos being fake. Now, I'm not really going to touch on the other stuff regarding all the illegal lottery and child gambling. That's not exactly my expertise. I'm no lawyer, and to be completely honest, neither is this guy. And I'm not here to just kind of stand for MrBeast and say he's this great, amazing figure, because I sure as hell don't know him, and I really don't watch his content either. I've already worked in reality TV for years, and I've seen far more than I'd like to. Far more. My problem is with Dogpack's framing of MrBeast as this game show host, rather than what he maybe really is, which is more of a reality TV host or a reality judge. So are MrBeast videos fake? Yes, inasmuch that all reality TV is fake. A manufacturing of events in order to tell a more streamlined story. ADR, adding lines to confirm character motivation, reenactments of authentic moments that the camera maybe missed, and enhancements to the sets. These are clarifying techniques to help tell a story in a very compact amount of time, or improve production value. So they CGI'd a bus tire and they filmed a dude diving through a door. Who cares? They thought it would all make it more engaging and help hold attention. It does its job. The problem is, it isn't authentic. That's because just like reality TV, this isn't about authenticity. It is a fair complaint to still hold against the genre. Nothing I'm saying here is an endorsement of this sort of content, just a note of why it works this way. The term reality here is more of a guideline than an actual rule. Its only goal is to entertain over a span of an hour or so. MrBeast videos, they have far less than even that amount of time. That often means manufacturing tension. Because honestly, who really wants to watch a show or even a video with no conflict in it, where everything is just resolved super easily without any issue? I've transcribed a lot of interviews during my time. The behind the scenes, it really was fascinating because you could hear the interviewer asking these leading questions just to get the soundbite they were looking for. They needed these clips in order to tie the editor's overall just narrative together. An example would be making it seem like two people are beefing from just one really minor, just like kind of snap, a small emotional outburst. Well, that's just not interesting. But people holding a grudge and having spite, now that's interesting. Gotta turn that drama up. Some interviews were recorded right after emotional moments in order to get those authentic tears or, just genuine anger. But in a lot of cases, they were follow-up interviews, perhaps days or weeks after the episode filmed, in order to fill in the missing story gaps. I'm under NDA, so I can't give exact examples, but I can speak more broadly. One of my favorite interviewers, she was an absolute mastermind at this. She could easily guide her subjects to say what she wanted and completely change the context of events. In this one case, she even managed to manufacture romantic tension between two personalities that never even liked each other. Brilliant! But also, not real. TV personalities, they're rarely who they pretend to be. And I'm not talking about all the other scandals and stuff. I don't really want to get into that stuff. Yet, time and time again, we learn people are not the same behind the camera as in front of it. Now, I'm not trying to say or imply that Jimmy is lying about who he is. Personalities can often be exaggerated for front-facing public images. On one show I worked on, we had what we called the villain contestant. Now, he was supposed to be kind of just this mean figure that's causing a lot of trouble, but he was kind of this big softie, and he cried in basically every interview. Those tears, they never made the final cut. But those brash sound bites? Yeah, those did. The interviewers even told him they intended to use him as a villain character, and he kinda knew that and really was playing it up most of the time. Gordon Ramsay, he's another good example. He's probably one of the most prolific, figures in reality TV that you can possibly know. But most people know him for acting this.
None of you working as a team! Where's the lamb sauce?
Come on.
When in reality, the closest real interpretation of his personality, it's probably like MasterChef Jr. Behind the scenes, the guy did seem genuinely warm and likable, as opposed to his Hell's Kitchen personality, where he's kind of just, a complete asshole all the time. So when the expose points out that the contestants are not really randomized people, or they aren't who they truly are, I mean, I'm sorry, but of course not. This kind of a contest is built on personality. A boring or awkward person, that can kill an episode. That's why on reality TV, both the characters or even in the game shows, the contestants, they're heavily vetted by a casting department. It would make sense that Jimmy would use these people that he knows, people with experience in front of the camera who can engage with the audience, and it's not surprising that those people, they're not a realistic reflection of who they are in real life. Character arcs, struggles, or even victories, these can all be pre-scripted or predetermined while still trying to give it the feel that it's a genuine competition. It's one of the reasons why I nearly laughed out loud when this dude, without a hint of irony, said that Survivor of all things, it likes to make sure that their competitions are fair. And yeah, maybe legally speaking, they fall under the term fair. Keep in mind though, Survivor was not one of the shows that I worked on and got raw footage from. But I did work on quite a few of the ripoffs, and I can tell you one thing, there is nothing fair about them. And certainly not for any show that relies on some internal controlling mechanism like judges. There's a reason the same character types in something like Survivor that they make it so far over and over again. Is it because the game is rigged so the most interesting characters make it further to help keep the drama going? You decide. The underdog and the villain in reality shows and competitions, they almost always are one of the last ones to make it to the end. That's not some grand coincidence in my eyes. Talent shows are even worse, because rarely does the one with the most talent probably win. Instead, it's the person with a good amount of talent and the best story that really wins. It makes the audience feel good. Are you going to come away from MasterChef Season 3 feeling all good, happy, and fuzzy if the blind chef bites it in the finale? I mean, probably not. It's not about the challenge or the competition being fair. It's about the illusion of fairness, so the lawyers can keep the regulators spinning and the storytellers get to have their satisfying ending. And that is what television is about first and foremost. And even something like YouTube, this sort of content at least, it has the same goal, and that's in its storytelling. The expose, it put a lot of attention on the YouTuber competition, where it highlighted a contestant that may have actually been in the top 3 over some of the bigger names. When it comes down to it, she was edited out to make more drama between big personalities that a lot of the viewer base maybe knew. And again, I am not excusing it because it is perfectly reasonable to question the ethics of that, especially when you're advertising it as a fair competition. And I personally think that it may have been stronger by having that lesser known underdog in there facing up against some of the bigger names. But yet in the end, that just wasn't the story they were trying to tell. They swapped her because, like reality shows, they wanted to have a big villain in the mix. And there's really no bigger villain on the internet than Logan Paul. So by having him in there, they felt that it raised the stakes because it gave the audience somebody to root against. It's a lie by omission, innocent enough in editing, but frustrating to those who have come to trust the brand. But do you know which brand you can trust? Well, this channel, of course. So I guess click that like and subscribe button.
Do it. Do it. Come on, do it. Lay it out right here. Do it. Do it.
Some may find omitting crucial details to be a clear sign of just dishonesty that's you just don't like. But MrBeast, he ain't a documentary. And even if he was a documentary, those also lie regularly. Searching for Sugar Man ended up in my top films of 2012. Brilliant movie, and you should see it if you haven't. In fact, maybe you could skip to the end of this time code so I don't spoil it all for you, but if you don't care, I guess continue on. Searching for Sugar Man sees a long-lost artist, once thought dead, make a once-in-a-lifetime comeback. The problem is, the movie omitted that he had played tours for years, including ones where he opened for some pretty big names. I think one of them was Led Zeppelin. I may be wrong on that, but don't fact check me. But does that make the filmmakers frauds or fakes. You decide, but including that fact, it would have undercut that emotional big ending, where it made it seem like he retired before making this great big comeback. It still is an amazing movie, and personally, I would argue that that decision to cut that information, that was the correct one from a storytelling perspective, if not from a journalistic point of view. Omission, it still is a major tool in the documentarian toolbox. Just for the record, never confuse MrBeast for either a journalist or a documentarian. He's not either of those. His show is not this reliable reflection of reality. I think the reason it's so shocking for some in regards to MrBeast is because of his status as this YouTuber and the parasocial internet relationship that comes with that. This is what's missing in corporate shows on network or cable. But it's still a new name, same game. Others may still want to just believe in him because of his expansive, philanthropy. We want to see the best in people. And even recently, his philanthropic videos, they've come under fire for basically being accused of taking advantage of the helpless. And guys, I'm just going to say it now, again, same name, different game. Or new name, same game. I can't remember what I said. There are plenty of even network philanthropic shows. The big one back in my childhood was Extreme Home Makeover. They even came to my hometown for an episode, and I got to go to the location and see the cast, which I thought was pretty cool back then, I guess, but probably people don't even know who they are anymore. Why were they there? Well, they were there to build a house for a little girl who had cancer. Yeah. And I can tell you what, they didn't catch any flack for it. People enjoy a feel-good story, and there is nothing better than somebody going like, move that bus, and making a family cry for joy at the sight of a giant, unwieldy mansion crushing their tiny house, okay? It's easy, and it gets down to our most just, basic empathetic emotions. That's not necessarily such a bad thing. In the end, Jimmy is making an effort to help someone. Is he helping himself too? Yeah, I mean, he's not that selfless. But there are far worse evils in the world than doing a bit of good to just get yourself ahead. This all doesn't extend to his giveaways, because here, Dogback, he does have some reasonable concerns on both a moral and ethical level. Using gambling tactics on children, it's kind of just, no, gross. Is it illegal though? Doubtful. I'm sure MrBeast has just this army of lawyers keeping him in a comfortable gray zone. At the very least, I can think of a couple brands that have done something similar. But let the legal scholars point out how it's completely different. I don't know. But I still remember McDonald's Monopoly game, or the Coke's $1 million bottle cap, or who can forget Pepsi promising everyone a jet. That did happen, and I believe there's a movie on Netflix about it. So you can check that out. I don't know. Or don't. Don't get me wrong. It is right to feel very deeply concerned about this stuff. And I know I do. It feels immoral to use such underhanded marketing tactics on children. Not to even get into or mention the other unethical accusations like faking signatures on merchandise. That's going to be especially egregious to any collectors. But then again, there is some stuff in this expose video that is pretty out there and wild. Like the dude claiming that the rocket blowing up was somehow MrBeast's fault. Now, as a person with two rocket scientist brothers, that's ludicrous. And I know he says or claims that he's not blaming him for the rocket blowing up. But then also, he kind of is. Just a bit of consumer advice here. If you are buying anything going into space, especially for $10, well, go ahead and assume there's a decent chance it's not making it to orbit, let alone the final destination. I guess instead you can think of it as paying $10 for some spectacular explosion. Then there is this part where he plays detective and determines that MrBeast and his team must have cheated on their raft video because there was a moment where they don't seem to be actually on the raft. Is it possible that they left mid-challenge just to warm up on a yacht? Sure, but these things aren't shot linearly. It's just as possible that this was B-roll shot by the video crew on a dramatically stormy day after the initial filming, or maybe even before the filming. All of that's possible. But returning back to the claim of the videos all being faked, a lot of this, unfortunately, just feels like people got a peek behind the curtain and saw the little man trying to pull the levers. It's okay if you don't like this sort of content. I mean, that's why I don't watch any reality TV anymore, including MrBeast, because I know all the tricks, and now when I watch it, that's all I see. But this isn't some devious new thing he's doing, okay? This is some baked-in showmanship that's been around since television kicked into the living rooms in like 1927. If you like it, that's fine. Just know what you are seeing is less reality, and more reality that requires you to, tilt your head and squint a little. Maybe there is enough actual reality there that you can suspend your disbelief. Because some of the stunts, don't get me wrong, they are spectacular, and some of the stuff they're doing is pretty crazy. But if you don't like it, that's okay too. Not every kind of media is for everyone. But the important thing here is to know that storytellers use different tools to accomplish their goals. And never be surprised when what is on screen is not what it seems. And never, ever just take it at face value. That's all I got. This was a very different kind of video for me, but hopefully I was able to combine some of my media experience with a little bit of history and stuff like that, that it's still on point for the channel a little bit here. For anyone new though, welcome. Please like and subscribe. And we will be back here with more regular film history and modern movie analysis. And until then, please keep those reels turning. Thank you.